Hey guys, my name is the Russian Badger and welcome to Harvest Day. This is the other map that's going to be going to Bad Company 2 from Bad Company 1. The other one being Oasis, and I already did a map preview on Oasis, as most of you probably already know. But if you haven't seen that yet, that map preview of Oasis, I'll leave a link in the description of this video so you can go see that if you'd like. But this is Harvest Day, so willkommen. And if I could describe it this way, I think more so players that have played Bad Company 1, and I thought last video I was too, not discriminate, but I think I was gearing it too much towards everyone being someone that never played Bad Company 1, but I really think the Bad Company 1 veterans will know what I mean when Bad Company 1 had a lot more woodland levels, and if that makes, as I crush this gentleman here, I didn't get the crush kill, but you know what I mean. Bad Company 1 had a lot of woodland levels. What I mean by that is, I picture the eastern United States, you know, dense woodlands, dense forests, things of that sort. Bad Company 2 didn't really have a whole lot of that. And when it did have woodland environments, they were either covered in snow or the other environments that had a lot of dense vegetation, they're really based in South America. So this is more of a North American type woodland, if that makes any sense at all. And it's going to be the first map of its type in Bad Company 2 from Bad Company 1. So it's going to be interesting to see how an environment with a lot of dense vegetation that's not tropical per se, but more of a, I want to think of it as an American / Canadian type of woodland, if that makes any sense. Hopefully it does. But it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out. And I knew that guy was going to chase after me after I got out of the tank, so I just waited for him to run around the corner, and running around corners quite blindly, das macht ihm viel zu schaffen. And it's going to be so easy to arm the charges from here because I already know there's probably guys in the cannons next to the other MCOM, and there's probably next to Gold Crate 1. They don't call them MCOMs in this one, technically, they're all gold crates. But I'm going to arm this one. There's only going to be one guy that comes up the stairs. I hate to spoil that for you, but it's going to be, once again, just like Oasis, it's going to be quite intriguing to see. Oh, there you go. Kneecaps, bro. It's going to be interesting to see how the margins, like I previously mentioned in the other video, how the margins even out. And you guys, I remember in my last video I mentioned flanking, but then again I didn't really showcase any flanking. I was like, oh yeah, there's tons of flanking in this game. It's really effective, and yet I didn't flank at all. I found that kind of humorous. But here I do flank eventually, and I'll show you later on. I get a little bit of flanking going on here, but the real heavy flanking starts later on. And see, this is what I kind of like. I like submachine guns. You kind of have to work for your kill at anything beyond close range. And he was just aimed down his scope as soon as he spawned, and his ineptitude is just amazing. And he also, this guy just made the wrong decision and spawned on a recon that was sitting in a corner looking at a window, and there's a second set of dog tags in just a few seconds. And actually, there was a large incentive in Bad Company 1 to knife people because you would get so many more points. I mean, sometimes, most of the time when you would get a kill in Bad Company 1, you would get, you know, 10, 15 points depending on a headshot or other bonuses that you would get with that. But if you knife somebody, you get 10 points for the kill, I believe. Yeah, I think you get 10 points for the kill, and then an extra 25 if they're max level, and there's tons of max level players, obviously because this game is around 2 years old, so there was a huge point incentive towards knifing someone. And here, it's a bit of a flank. You could call that a flank, maybe, but I will showcase the real heavy-duty flanking later on, and I just put C4 on that just to make sure that if somebody went down there, I might get some kind of a creative kill by hitting the C4 directly in his face. And I get a really, really cool timing. And obviously you guys know that one C4 stick does not blow up an MCOM crate in Bad Company 1, or a gold crate. But what happens is I hit it like directly as it explodes, and it sounds pretty cool. I don't know if you guys are going to notice that or not, but... And then we also had another teammate. He flanked around the right side, and that right side, yeah, see, that was a good one right there, just like right as it exploded. I tried to time it correctly. You know when the siren goes up in pitch and it starts getting more frequent, and then I just hit it then. But if you can notice, I don't know if you guys noticed that earlier, but there is a large amount of hills on the right-hand side, just to the right of me right now, where it's kind of hard to see, but I'm sure you saw it earlier. and it gives a great contrast because there are lots of hills and lots of elevated positions on the right-hand side, and then there's these open fields with long lines of sight on the left-hand side. But even so, that makes recons even more important, and those motion mines are also drastically important on these really wide open areas, and also in those hills when there's lots of tall trees where it's more difficult to see people. But see, I was just in a line of sight that was so, I mean, it's so wide. Look at this flank. This flank, I'm not quite hugging the outside of the barrier because obviously I'd be running on the road. But these maps, just amazing. I don't think you get a whole lot of this in Bad Company 2, but some of the maps in Bad Company 1 were just tremendous. And this isn't too difficult because once I get here, there's enough vegetation, or a small amount of vegetation, that's going to hide my approach all the way over to this crate over here. I don't even think that I even experience any enemies over here because they usually all stack on the other MCOM because that's usually the one that's gone to first. And I really think that happened quite frequently in Bad Company 1 is they will usually just stack on the gold crate that's next to their spawn and they just don't move away from it. And the gold crates that are more so exposed to a flank, they usually don't even go for them. And that's even more... That's not exactly true on every map, but here it was even more so obvious because the tank got in between where their spawn was and where I was, and obviously where the MCOM was, so they really were not going to get across there. And I'm not going to say that Bad Company 1 vehicles were more influential to the game than Bad Company 2. I think they're about even, but I don't specifically think I'm the best person to kind of evaluate whether a tank or the tanks were better in Bad Company 1 or Bad Company 2. And I got my face taken off because I tried to snipe him with a UMP, which is not a good idea, and I hope you enjoyed that. And just in a little piece of downtime here while I'm flanking the I'm not even flanking right here. Well, you could argue I'm flanking the right side, which is very true, but remember my last video, I know I have some German viewers that are sometimes kind of critical of my German, but they're usually quite polite about it. And I translated catfish, and they said, die Katzefisch? Like, and you guys know, when I speak German, ich will, dass ihr mich versteht. Und ich sagte, die Katzefisch. Versteht ihr mich? And then you guys were just, was hast du gesagt? Die Katzefisch? Ich verstehe nicht. Was bedeutet Katzefisch? Die Katzefisch. And hopefully you guys aren't too offended. I didn't read any comments that were like, bist du verrückt? Ich bin verärgert und ich bin enttäuscht. None of those like really angry comments, so I'm fairly happy about that. But there was one of the German viewers that I oftentimes play with on PlayStation Network. He reminded me of a word. I'll probably have it in my next video. I don't have it on hand right now, but he reminded me of a word that's kind of the German equivalent of catfish. So thank you for putting up with my rant and or tangent about catfish in Germany in German. Okay, so once we got that set of objectives, I decided to switch to the M16 for this final push here. And I know that aim's pretty bad, but then again, who needs good aim when you have 50 rounds in a clip? That must be an awfully long clip for an M16 to have 50 rounds. And by the way, that's the coolest attachment ever in any Battlefield game ever. You guys just saw it, the pin, right? The, what is it called? I haven't played Bad Company in so long. Like, well, I've played it like yesterday, but I just haven't gotten really into it lately. And God, what is that name? It's the pin that you stick into yourself and you get full health again. It's the coolest attachment ever. It's so intriguing that you can do that. And the other thing that I loved about it is the guy is totally unfazed. It's so asinine that the guy's just totally unfazed. You just stab that into your body and you just, that's all he does. It's like a little grunt. But this is the actual flanking that I was talking about. Hugging the outside of the map. And really, look, there's very little visibility until I come up on this hill here. This is true flanking. And I thought this is where Bad Company 2 really contrasts with Bad Company 1 is they gave you a lot more room behind the enemy MCOMs. For example, okay, so Bad Company 2, they give you quite a bit of, in most cases, in some cases, they give you quite a bit of room on the flanks, but then behind, like near the enemy spawn, like way behind the enemy base or the enemy objectives, there's not a whole lot of room, but in Bad Company 1, there's always an overwhelming amount of room. And we clean these guys up pretty quickly. I believe some of my teammates just got out RPGs or C4, but there's really no way to stop that. And there also was crate bashing per se in Bad Company 1, but it really wasn't frowned upon that much, because it was like, if you were able to get into the enemy spawn and get right into their MCOMs, you deserve to C4. But it was, I feel like it was sort of different, and I never really, I've talked with other Battlefield Bad Company 1 players, and they're not totally against it, like it's a total sin like in Bad Company 2. And I know a lot of you guys hate crate bashing in Bad Company 2, but this has been the preview of Harvest Day. I want to thank you guys for watching, and I will see you next time with perhaps some Bad Company 2, probably some Bad Company 2. Auf Wiedersehen und bis bald.